skin looks pretty legit, though. I mean, like, if there's one thing that I love doing, it's painting Trollblood skin. That stuff gets my dick hard all the time. Like, I tell you, Trollblood skin, Brian approved.
Well, like I said, I figured we should at least get you into the shot, because that way.
Well, I could be omnipresent, so
true.
That was gonna be the big reveal at the end, is he actually wasn't there. It was a pair of arms, and just like nobody was there. He was just phoning the whole thing in.
Oh man,
just pans away out to just see like a puppet.
It would be that would be funny. I don't know. It's probably a mean joke, but making an animatronic version of Jeff so that you could just have an excuse to drink alone.
That's a good idea. I need an animatronic version of myself.
Quite possibly what happened here.
That's what's in that closet, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, you don't want to see what's in that closet, because all that is just a ton of models that are not painted.
Well, it's not when I see a non-painted model. I'm like, oh my god, paint your models, bro.
That's the real reason that the Jeff drone isn't out, because the Jeff drone isn't painted.
Yes.
The eternal struggle.
It's very hard to get all the skin tones right.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
The realistic motions are down, though. I don't bend properly.
I think maybe Andy just ran out of pasty white paint.
Very much so. It takes a lot of pasty white paint.
No comment.
I don't like the outdoors, and I'm pretty certain the outdoors don't like me.
So that pretty much sums up the whole conversation about the Troll Bouncer.
No, there's more. Bouncer does more. Okay, so here's the reason that the Bouncer surprises most people. Is for a defensive beast, it does have some good offense to it. Being able to ignore some shields helps. Power and Strength 13 helps. Reach helps. Those are all big things. The tricks that are, though, is for a shield guard model, it's hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Usually the fastest way you stop a shield guard from working is you knock it down or you move it out of the way. The Bouncer's got Brace for Impact. So if you try slamming it, it moves 3 less inches. And just as a basic rule of Brace for Impact, it doesn't get knocked down by collateral damage. It doesn't even suffer collateral damage. So they can't slam models into or over your shield guard to stop it. They can't even just decide to slam your shield guard, because for most models, they're looking at a 50-50 of that slam not working. Mm-hmm. And that's enough to stop people from even trying most of the time. I had an opponent who was dead set on killing my caster one game, and the Bouncer was just sitting there going, I got shield guard, you need that extra shot, and like, okay, well, I'm going to Thunderbolt him. Like, okay, but I get slammed to D3 inches, or 3 less. Like, what? I've got Brace for Impact. Well, I'm gonna basically throw a model into you. That's not gonna knock me down. I'm gonna hit you with this momentum gun. It won't work.
Yep.
You know, so it's hard to get that model out of position, and that's why it makes it one of the better shield guards in the game. The problem is you're paying 5 points for pure defense in most cases. You have to work for its offense. Its defense is just there. And it's hard to justify that much of your army for just a defensive piece.
Yeah, I feel like that, and then a lot of people will look at him just as a shield guard guy, and there are very few, in my opinion, there are very few warcasters, or warlocks, sorry, that really, really want a shield guard for 5 points. You know, like some other shield guards they might, like the Boker is really, because he just takes that Irish shot and you're good.
Well, but can Trollbloods take the Boker? I don't think they can.
No. I'm just comparing in generals, like how many points do you really want to pay for just shield guard? They really don't notice the other things that come with it, where he can really like rain on a pikeman's parade.
Yeah, no, it's another highlight game I've had with a Bouncer is when I said like P Madrak. Someone ran up some flame guard, the
Temple Flame
Guard, and Iron Zealed and Shield Walled, and like okay, they're armor 22, so even a beast is going to struggle with that. Mm-hmm. Used Carnage, used my feet. It's like, you're armor 17 now. I need 5s to crush you. Squish. And just ate the whole unit with a single Bouncer. I missed once, but then I bought another attack, you know?
Yeah, he can just alternate his shield guard targets, where he gets the guy who's like, gets model A, and then, or gets model B and gets him out of shield guard.
The chain weapon ignores shield wall.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't have to pick it out. He can just walk right down the line going,
yeah.
Whee!
Yep, everybody can be in base to base. You just have to.
Yeah, he doesn't ignore the Iron
snap
Seal.
out the center of the triangle there. You could just take out everyone.
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
And he'll mangle it and just cause all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I guess if you were thinking like maybe he wouldn't be able to get the whole unit, then like alternating every other guy so that the next guy who comes in can clean the rest of them up is kind of where I was going.
Yeah, and that's an option too.
That makes sense.
But that's where the bouncer's offensively. The other thing the bouncer's really good for is triggering the Chronicler's charge of the troll. Is since he doesn't need to do the work himself, he walks up and goes, "I'm engaging all these guys.
Yeah.
I hope this unit comes and helps me out." Gee, how convenient.
This may be the alcohol talking, but did you guys mention bump?
Not yet. I was actually about to bring it up.
Okay, good.
Bump needs a bump. So bump is a great animus on
awesome
novice players and terrible on experienced players.
What do you mean? What?
Because bump always triggers on the first attack roll of damage. So for those of you who don't know, bump is if you damage the model with bump with a melee attack, after the attack is resolved, the model that caused the damage is pushed 3 inches directly away. So the reason it's really good on novice players is you can dangle out your Maul or your Earthborn or Mulg or your Mountain King and put bump on it. And the person will go, "Oh, it's a gimme. I'm going to charge you with my Scythian, or I'm going to charge you with my Gladiator." And they go up and they punch it once, and they do 12 points of damage, and then they get pushed 3 inches and go, "I can't do anything else."
Mm-hmm.
And it ruins their day. The reason it doesn't work on an experienced player is because the person goes, "Oh, I'm going to get pushed 3 inches away when I hit him. I'm going to run this one infantry model over right nearby and charge into that gap so directly away hits that friendly model and I don't get pushed anywhere."
Correct, but you are forcing that experienced player to do that.
Right.
Which is not really a misallocation of resources, but it chooses them to force those resources into that position.
It does take one more thing into consideration, and it does have a lot of value against some of these fresher like Beast Swarm lists. Like against Abby 2, it can actually really mess with her day. Like she'll still tear up a beast, but having that Carnivian bolt forward, 11 inches, and then hit something once, take out half its life bar, and get shoved 3 inches away, will still make it very upset. And it doesn't have the infantry support to really protect it from having that happen.
I think that's one of the things in general that really is one of the overall themes of War Machine that you won't really understand when you first start playing right away is you are playing your game, and it's really important to be on top of your game. But when you start playing your opponent's game, like making your opponent play your game too, that's when you're really getting into like a whole new level of understanding the game, where you're taking these animi that just make your opponent play around it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there are spots where it can be really beneficial. As a rule of thumb, I only end up using bump in the circumstance Andy's talking about, where like when it would take the opponent out of position to try to stop it.
Yeah. One other somebody did post there too is talking about putting bump onto P Borka or Borka 1. So he's drunk and knocks somebody back.
I think that's really funny, but the unfortunate part is what can actually happen.
He just moved forward, he stumbled towards him.
Where are you going?
Yeah, get back here.
I wasn't done with you.
My Borka always stumbles into the worst spots. Never. Well, once I stumbled into a great spot. Oh, that was good.
But that's how Prime Borka plays, though. Is he bumbles around the field, going, "You haven't killed me yet."
Well, with Windwall, and we'll deal with that later.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that later.
But yeah, that's where the bouncer's at. So it's usually the biggest use I usually see for the bouncer is when you've got an important animus or buff based defense to stop Epic Eris.
Yeah,
is he just sits there and goes like, "Yeah, I know Madric's got Surefoot, but you're gonna hit me with that bolt instead."
Yeah.
Is like he'll still benefit from Surefoot, but he'll stop it from just getting dispelled the easy way.
Such as the game, like I said before, that proved that you are the hipster Trollblood player.
Yeah.
That you had a Mountain King on the field, followed or in front of the Mountain King was two Skinners. Next to the Mountain King was a bouncer, and you were playing with P Madrex, so you had Surefoot on the Mountain King.
Yep, and the bouncer's entire role is to take those arrow shots. And in circumstances where I'm stupid enough to play that list against Crix to help stop Death Chill from Pistol Wraiths.
Yep, and we talked about this before, but take that, Internet. He won with that list.
I will field it some more. I eventually do want to put a battle report up when it's not like a list that's obviously a terrible matchup. But I should. I think the list has a lot of really cool mechanics behind it.
That's a terrible matchup against that.
Everything. I mean,
I have fielded it against most opponents. I just will not field it against Tyrus and Crix.
True, that makes sense.
well, then you're never going to be able to use your bouncer to take the Irish shot.
That's not true at all.
You got to live a little.
Because both those factions take Iris so often.
Oh, I thought you said Iris. I thought you said Irissa, right?
No.
Who's Irissa?
Iris
I don't know that Retribution lady who
floating
doesn't.
girl, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
I feel
it's Syria?
Yeah, there you go. I don't know her name. I don't play.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. But
she's the lady who hugs a Hyperion. That's all I got.
she looks like Hyperion. But yeah, that's the bouncer and bump. It's neat. It will irritate novice players, but experienced players will usually find a way around the obstacle. Not always, but usually can.
Like I mentioned before, even then, if they find a way around it, they're allocating some other resources to stop that from happening, which means you have a very dead model that has bump on it.
Yeah. No, it won't have bump the whole turn. The first hit will still get rid of it.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a factor. Although I did just think of something. I was to double check the rules that like other terrible mechanics you could try using are casting bump on a figure and provoking a free strike on something that you want in a different position. So they can either opt to take the free strike or let you move where you want to. If they take the free strike and hit, they get bumped. I think that still works. I don't know when I'd use it.
By enemy melee attack.
Yeah, so the free strike would still trigger bump.
Yep.
Ironically, that also means that if you trample over something and provoke a free strike, when the bump triggers, it pushes away from where the trample model ended. So you could push something closer if it took a free strike.
Yes.
That's actually kind of funny.
Well, the good thing though is you can't trample with the bouncer
No, but
No, but you
bump
can
is
put it
an
on
enemy
something.
unless you're somebody from Chicago. Bringing up a topic from something that's 3 years old.
Oh,
but
okay.
Somebody from Chicago was. I'm not mentioning names, but he
okay.
was trampling with his light beasts.
I'd love to do that. It'd be kind of cool.
It would be pretty damn cool.
There's one that can. Not
Yeah, there is
Trollbloods.
only one. Yes, but yeah, the model sucks anyway. But actually, it's really good too.
It's good. The wings are weird looking though.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were talking about the bouncer segments. I like the bouncer's model. That's really cool.
Yeah.
the bouncer's wings.
Yeah. Yes, the bouncer's wings.
He drank some Red Bull before that army or before that fight.
He's just got that awesome, like almost trash can style lid and that bucket jaw. Oh, I like the bouncer model. And his wings. His wings are fantastic. Yeah, let's move on to a different model. What's next?
The Impaler.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me update
If-
the graphic.
I don't think there's anybody who'd ever listened to this podcast who doesn't know what an Impaler is.
I think there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast wonder why you get two in the battle box.
I wonder that too.
It's
I
so
wonder
they
why
can-
that battle box still exists.
It's so they can far strike each other. Come on.
That makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense.
That makes honestly no sense. Why you would spend 2 Fury to far strike another model that's going to be basically doing the same thing to the other.
It makes
well, no,
you
because
feel
one far
better.
strikes the other model, the other model can boost its attack and damage roll.
Oh,
There's some tech for you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But Madrak can throw the axe, whatever.
Yeah. No, the battle box, the Trollblood battle box is the worst designed battle box in the whole system.
Yeah, no doubt. It doesn't even like allow players to really like get into the faction because they're like, ooh, trolls, like I was really interested in the big war beasts and they're really cool looking. But then the battle box is like, well, this is fun.
The Trollblood battle box is more designed to still work with itself, and it was designed okay for Mark 1 when there wasn't shaking rules.
Yeah.
Because with that battle box you could control the opponent's army and keep them away.
But there's like when you look at the battle box though, you're not seeing like a way to really like put a lot of punch into the army other than putting your caster.
Well, that and the
out
caster
there.
doesn't have a feat.
Yeah.
I believe it's
not one that works really, at least.
Well, correction. The feat will allow it so that if one of your beasts kills one of the opponent's beasts, they can make one more attack if another of your opponent's beasts happens to be nearby.
Yeah.
Which
maybe again shredders, sure. I mean,
no. If you're listening to this podcast, you want to play Trollbloods, don't worry about the battle box. Use the alternate battle box, which is Doomshaper, a Pirate Troll, a Mauler, and an Axer or an Impaler, I think.
I'm not sure, but that sounds really awesome. But somebody was just asking about what about the alternate battle box?
The alternate battle box is actually well designed and works. The problem with it is that Doomshaper is really squishy for a battle box caster, so it's a little bit more punishing if you screw up. But the mechanics of the battle box work better together.
Lilith pretty much destroys Doomshaper in that battle box scenario.
If you know what you're doing, you can. But if you're learning the battle box, no.
But yeah, unless you're sitting on a ton of on a Fury.
Well, what you do is you put Doomshaper up there behind your beast wall and you pop your feet. So if Lilith wants to shoot you to death, then she burns all her fury and blows her brain up.
Or she just puts bad blood onto one of your beasts too, and that makes it horrible. Put bad blood onto your Mauler.
I forgot she had that spell.
Hey, we're getting into some Legion tech.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's.
So basically, the Impaler is there to enable your army. It's there to give your bomber an extra 4 inches of range, give your caster, be it Jarl, Grim, or probably Jarl, isn't it? But Grim or Gumbjorn, or even Epic Grizzle, just some extra range on their guns. And then at the end of the game, mix it up. Because a lot of people forget that the Impaler is actually better at melee combat than ranged combat. Because ranged combat, it will get a single power 13 that could crit smite, and in melee you can just buy more of those same power 13s. And Smat and Rat are the same. Some other bits of tech which take people off guard with the Impaler. Don't forget the Impaler can just opt to do a slam power attack instead of using its spear. A lot of people will position things under the assumption that they're going to try for the crit slam with the spear and hope that you won't get it because the odds aren't very good. I've just taken the Impaler and just shoved the Impaler at them with a regular slam. They've gone, oh, right.
Yeah, one of the overarching things with Beasts, it seems it's coming up as a theme as far as Trollbloods are concerned, and I think this is pretty good for new players in general, is just like read that power attack section and memorize it, because your power attacks are what really make your Beast great.
Yeah.
Of any of the factions in the game, I will go out on a limb and say Trollbloods are probably the best at power attacking. Most of their models carry an open fist, if not two. They've got one of the only spots in the game where you've got an accessible strength buff, which applies directly to almost every power attack I can think of.
Yeah.
And just in general, those can be real big game changers. Any spot where you can't kill something, you can usually delay it to the point where your army takes the momentum. So yeah, it's I agree. Read your power attack section. I know people don't like arm locks, but I've had a lot of fun with those even before the nerf came down.
It's really good
or
when
after the nerf came down.
It's really good when you arm lock something that's got a crit freeze or something like that, or crit knockdown, where they do have to take some effort to get out of it to make that weapon useful, because I can't think of any models right off the top of my head who have an amazing crit attack on that weapon, but I'm fairly certain that some of their point value and some of their usability or their use is included in just having that weapon.
Well, and I especially like it on a lot of models that carry like a weapon and shield combo. Because what'll happen a lot of times is the virtue that you probably won't be able to kill the beast on its own because the shield is in the way. If you spend the time to arm lock the shield, you've spent too much fury to kill them that way. I'll often just grab the weapon.
Then they have to hit you with their shield, and then they lose it.
Right, and Trollblood beasts are usually strong if the opponent's going to struggle to snap that lock. So basically, even though you didn't kill their jack, you've got your beast holding it by one limb, and then you can slowly pound it to death, hopefully while nothing else kills it. Or at the very least, you keep it out of the zone or out of the way until the rest of the army comes to bear.
Yep.
But two-handed throws are fantastic, especially on the light beasts. Yeah, but memorize your power attacks. The other tricks about the Impaler are pretty commonplace ones. Put the Mauler's Animus on it so it's power and strength 16 when it throws its spear. I said rush it in the melee, slam with it. My Impalers are known for doing headbutts more often than not because something gets too close to the caster and I headbutt whatever's there to get rid of the problem.
Try not to rely on his crit that much. I mean, it is really awesome to get it, but don't bank your entire activation that turn to get on his crit. Because more than likely, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, I think that like the way the dice rolls break down is an unboosted attack roll, assuming every combination of dice hits, you've only got a 1 in 6 chance anyways.
Yeah.
And when you're boosting, your odds go up substantially, but still it relies on you, A, hitting, and B, making sure that one of those pairings is doubles.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it's to enable your ranged game. And favorites are obviously like the Bomber, it works really well on. It works really well on both of the Madrax. Epic Grizzle, it really enables our assassination run. And I hate to use the term auto-include, but I always take an Impaler with Jarl. Just because nobody likes those range 16 hand cannons firing across the field with Black Penny and Magic Bullet.
Yeah, nobody likes those. Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. When I won the War Machine weekend, I took it was a Theme Force 50-point event, and I won. I didn't really win it, but I won it because I'm the one who got the army for 50 points for free. And so since I run Who's the Boss, I own every single caster in the game, and I was trying to figure out another caster that I could use with the free Runes of War army that I got from War Machine Weekend. Oh, it's so beautiful. But I tried to struggle, and Jarl was the one that I ended up picking up, and just turns out that I already had an Impaler because I already owned the battle box, and that's perfect. And then I ended up using a bunch of mercenaries with him, which worked out pretty well because he works well with mercenaries.
But yeah, and that's just as any of the Troll casters have those long range guns. Prime Grim, a range 17 ignoring stealth and concealment gun will scare casters really hard. Like Prime Denegra has to sit there and really consider her life when that's sitting around. Or even like that Eris or Gorman that's waiting in the wings, that gun will kill me dead. So yeah, that's the Impaler. Very, very good. It's pretty ubiquitous. I know I mispronounced that, but very, very good. It's just don't once again, very rarely assume it's necessary. Work with what your battle group is presenting. So, like, Bombers, it's very good at. I don't find it of much use with Dozer and Smig or the Blitzer because they're normally rolling up the field anyways, and they've got their own natural range. Same thing goes like the Battle Wagon. A lot of people seem to think that you need to have the Impaler to make that work, and I disagree.
No, it's got some pretty good range by itself, plus it moves pretty fast.
Yeah,
so
and that's just it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Impaler. Pretty good stuff.
Yep.
Are we out of the beasts? Or
No.
more?
We got one more.
No, you forgot the best one.
The best looking beast
Eldest.
in the world.
Oh, the Winter Troll. All right.
And then we're done with the actual
beasts.
beasts.
Okay.
Finally, after
So-
3 hours in,
It's not bad. That's about half the list.
2.5.
Yeah, see. But either way, so the Winter Troll needs some help. It is...
What do you mean? He's actually got a pretty cool animus.
I get it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's only funny when I say them. So the Winter Troll is probably not worth its 5 points. If it were a 4-point beast, I'd actually use it more often.
Yeah.
It's got the generic Trollblood stat line, which includes Rat 4 on a spray. And that's not going to impress anybody.
No, I mean if he had like a powerful attack or something like that where he could boost all the attacks on the spray,
Right.
that would be pretty cool. But just having Rat 4 on a crit chance spray,
Yeah, so I mean, basically with the Winter Troll, you're going to be spending most of your Fury. You're going to load it up on Fury, boosting attack rolls just to get it to hit. And whenever you're hit, you better hope a Power 12 kills it. So those are the problems with the Winter Troll. Some of the highlights that can make the model useful-ish.
Rhyme is pretty cool.
Yes. So the reason for Rhyme is basically if your opponent will hit you with a melee attack and then not kill you during the activation, they freeze.
So a cold cheese curd. It was not very good.
The face me look like I ate a rat turd instead. Like, oh.
It was cat dookie. It's part of my wok corn.
Well, at least it just goes to show you're not that drunk yet.
If anybody is good fans of C-Lab, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's cat dookie. So what your opponent will do is, in theory, they'll contribute something to kind of casually deal with the Winter Troll because it's not doing much to them. They'll bonk it with a light beast or something like that, and maybe beat it up, and then forget. Oh wait, now I'm frozen. Your Winter Troll wanders off into something else rude. The most common thing I'll do in that circumstance is I'll actually walk around to the back arc of the frozen model and arm lock them, because now you automatically hit. They're locked and they can't really turn around to get you again. The two big uses I ever have out of the Winter Troll, which even with my troll hipster self isn't very often, is with his Animus. So the Animus basically means that...
Freezer.
Yes, Freezer. If the enemy model ends their activation within 2 inches of the model with Freezer, they become stationary, unless they're immune to cold and yada yada. What that will do for you, though, is it gives your ranged beasts a really good escape option. So say you've got your bomber out there and he's been throwing bombs all day because that's what he does and he's having a great time. Most opponents will run at you to stop you from hucking those bombs and killing your army. So if you activate your Impaler, far shot the bomber does his thing, and then freezer that bomber, if your opponent tries that exact same trick, they're going to become stationary and will no longer engage you. Your bomber can now actually stand still and aim at whatever they want and throw those bombs wherever they need to go. Since most opponents don't pack immune to cold figures, it works pretty well, assuming you're okay with taking the 5-point penalty. The other spot it works out pretty well is you keep your Winter Troll in a back rank position. You put it behind a wall of Krell warriors or warders or champions or something, and then your opponent tries to jam them. What you do with that Winter Troll at that point in time is you forfeit your movement to aim, let Andy pass some gas.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola Classic.
And then,
I should have went down to Woodman so
I
I
was
could
saying something.
so I could have got the sugar made
Pure
Coca-Cola
sugar? Real
Classic.
sugar?
Yep.
Heroin sugar?
I am curious how this is going to taste. It's probably going to
Is
be
that the-
horrible.
Is that the iced tea and Coke?
No,
Whiskey.
Okay.
no, it's the Fireball whiskey with Coke. I'm curious.
Whiskey's such a pollutant. Like, it makes everything taste like whiskey. Like, you're drinking your Coke right now, but it really isn't Coke. It's just whiskey-flavored water.
With a Coke aftertaste.
Honestly, I cannot taste Coke. All I taste is cinnamon.
To be fair, I could taste both flavors when I mixed it with my pumpkin shake. That was really good. I'm going to do that again.
You might have to take a break during the mid-broadcast.
Rush out to Culver's and get more ice cream and whiskey. Yeah, I'm not going to be running anywhere right now.
Yeah, who's drank the less so we can actually have somebody as a designated driver?
I had a Long Island and 3 beers. I'm good.
I could probably text somebody to bring us stuff.
Just shoot them the SOS text. Please food us.
I'm from small town Wisconsin. We're pros at this stuff.
How many DOAs are you up to?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm on my 3rd. Actually, I have never gotten a DUI.
I used to be a tattoo artist once upon a time, and everyone I worked with, criminal record as long as their arm. I am the anomaly. I've never had anything put on my criminal record.
Really?
I am a good boy.
That's actually something to be proud of.
It is.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Yeah,
Now-
But so speaking of things that you shouldn't be proud of, the Winter Troll.
we're still talking about him?
I had one last thing to say.
I'll put the
and that's
text back
basically your opponent tries to jam you. You forfeit the Winter Troll's animus or activation or movement to aim.
That thing.
Yes. Put his animus on one of the jammed models and just spray over it. Your model's now immune to cold, and you can hit the models behind it with a Rat 6 instead of a Rat 4 that you can boost where you need to. Other spots it's paid off. I've used it quite a bit with... shouldn't say quite a bit. I've used it with the Mountain King. Once again, in comparison with the Bomber, you put the Winter Troll's animus on the Mountain King. Bouncer stops arrows from shooting off the animus. If the enemy runs to engage you or just simply doesn't manage to finish you off, they become stationary, and your Mat 5 doesn't become a problem anymore.
Speaking of that...
What?
So that's how I got away with my Mountain King list at War Machine Weekend a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if I told you about this, but I
think so, yeah.
It was a 2-caster event, so it was 75 points. I took 4 Mountain Kings in the list. 4 Mountain Kings with Doomshaper and Grim Angus.
Yeah.
And a Winter Troll. So I had Return Fire on all the Mountain Kings.
Yeah.
And I put the Winter Troll Animus on all the Mountain Kings. It turned out pretty well. Unfortunately, the first game I ended up playing, I had to... I took on Haley 2 and frickin' Nemo 3. Nemo 3 did not survive very well against Mountain
4
Kings.
sprays can murder him wherever he wants to be.
Well, not even 4 sprays. Just the fact where every time he hit with one of his lightning attacks, it would produce a it would produce a whelp, and then it would get hit by the attack from the whelp. Then
So subsequent attacks, it just whelp itself.
Yeah, it would just whelp itself to death, and I had a caster that was close to base of the of one of the Mountain Kings.
Nice.
The game ended up turning out where I couldn't actually get at Haley because I ended up putting Banishing Word on the wrong Mountain King, so she was able to time bomb the one that was closest to him, and then just went out to death at that time.
Yeah,
at
but
that point.
Those are how you use the Winter Troll if you're feeling like you need to use a Winter Troll.
Yeah,
It's all honesty, it's not terrible to the point where it's unusable, but it really should probably be a 4-point beast.
God, if there is ever a troll beast that needs a resculpt, he is one.
Yeah,
he's
the Winter Troll I use, I actually had a friend mod it, and he's actually, instead of having a naked back, he's got back hair, and he's actually got like a pair of tusks jutting out from his jaw, as opposed to the old man smile. I couldn't see that.
You need to chew. You need to chew my people before I eat them.
You should just hold up.
You put that in applesauce form.
Yeah, just hold up a big jar of applesauce.
Yeah.
You could get those in like a hobby store.
Give him a food blender.
A hobby can of applesauce and a straw.
Yeah,
That's what he gets.
yeah. Poor winter troll.
That is one of the very good uses of the battle box, I'll say. I don't know why I pointed my fen blades, but like taking those extra impalers, if you were an acquisition artist and just have tons of them like some people, you can turn some of those guys with some handy modeling and filing. You can make them slag trolls, you make them winter trolls, and then they don't look butt ugly.
That's true.
I actually kind of like the slag troll, but the reason isn't because the sculpt is good.
I think his head's too big.
Yeah, it could very well be. I like the slag troll because for some reason it's the only troll that has like a metal loincloth. And it's also the only troll known for eating metal.
He's just too metal for me, I guess.
Yes. I just like the idea of the opponent like, what are you doing, slag troll? Ah! Oh, nothing. What you looking at?
That's a snack.
I think
what if he grabs the wrong stuff?
I think we should go to the next subject.
It grows back. It's a slag troll.
If the whelp pops off, can you just name it?
That's how slag trolls make s'mores.
If the whelp pops off, can you just name it Dickhead?
Yes.
Just
Bell end.
Just like this giant penis running around. Why do I live?
Still has the annoyance rule.
A Trollblood whelp called Bell end.
So yeah, let's get out of the Trollblood beast and get to some stuff that's really exciting, like the infantry and solos.
Ooh.
Oh, we're not going to talk about neither.
We're going to talk about the charred troll thing. No, never mind.
The charred troll thing.
I thought it was charred, but it's the drunken hero wagon or the war wagon.
The war
of
wagon?
Drunken hero.
Oh, is it? Oh yeah.
The Trollkin War Wagon!
This is good. I like this. So
You are a very good proponent for the War Wagon. I see it in
Yes.
a lot of your lists.
it's because it's good.
It is pretty sexy.
I don't know why I don't see it more often. All right, so
Because it's 9 points and you can take a Mauler.
yeah, but a Mauler needs Fury to run.
Yeah.
So basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with the War Wagon, because your local Trollblood players don't field it, Speed 7, like Defense 10, Armor 19, Mat 6, Rat 5. Those are the only stats you really care about on it. That's actually most of the stats, though.
Yeah.
What it does, though, is it's a heavy cavalry model, so it's got all access to, or I shouldn't say heavy cavalry model, so it can do all the things that regular cavalry can do, which means ride-by attacks, so you can actually, even though its gun is only range 10, you can roll it forward 4, fire 10 inches out, and roll back 3.
Yep. Yeah, ride-by attacks, I think, is one of the big things about that people don't know about, and it is so useful for, like, your cavalry casters. I mean, we don't have any... Well, we have one in Trolls, but I don't think he has anything that utilizes that ride-by attack.
Other than ride-by attack just being good.
Yeah.
I every game I've fielded with Borka 2, I've used ride-by attack at least once. Not to massive effect, but here's the thing. You should never just advance when you can ride-by.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
If you need to charge, it's different, but if you're just advancing, don't. So here's what you actually get out of that ride-by. You get the full range. You also get to get some movement shenanigans in place there. So what that means is a good example is abilities like counter charge trigger at the end of a movement. When you do a ride-by attack, your movement's not done until you use up all your movement or you say your movement's done. So you can actually roll up 4 inches into counter charge range, fire your guns, and roll back another 3 and end out of counter charge range and not be counter charged.
You could also get past admonition as well in that same way.
Yep.
It's because you're not actually ending your
movement's
movement.
not done. The same way for the impact attacks, which this thing can also do. So it won't trigger those end of movement stuff until after those impact attacks are resolved, which actually has 2 big effects on that weapon.
Is it impact part of the charge though?
Impact is part of a charge, but it's part of the movement, not at the end of it.
True.
You resolve impact before you finish your movement.
True.
So this thing gets boosted attack rolls on its impact rolls, so it's actually Mat 6 boosted, which will hit most things. Plus, the weapon it's using has knockdown, so anything you do hit with that falls over. Ideally, if you're really capitalizing on the impact attacks, you're rolling over. You're killing whatever you're going for. You're going to fail your charge.
Yeah, true.
But use those cavalry rules on that war wagon. It makes a lot of difference. The other big thing that people tend to look past it is the way that the trampling hooves rule works on the war wagon. So basically what people mostly assume that the trampling hooves does is basically any activation that the wagon does not make a does not make a charge attack at the end of the activation. It can make an additional. I'm probably misquoting the rules, but basically the way it breaks down is you can make one attack with the War Wagon after the end of a charge movement, or even if you didn't charge, just make one attack with it during its activation. So here's where things are weird with it, is because the only melee weapon it has is attached to a mount, it has a melee engagement range of half an inch, but cannot make free strikes because it can only attack with those hooves during its activation.
Correct.
So it can engage a model that it can't actually free strike against. The other part about it that people overlook is people assume, like, okay, they get a charge attack. If the War Wagon is able to trample, it just says in an activation where the hooves aren't used to make a charge attack that you can make a single melee attack with it. So you can actually trample with the War Wagon, do the trample attacks, and take one more melee attack afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all legit. But you can use that. You can play a lot of that to your advantage. A big play I've gotten out of that War Wagon is I've done a ride by attack into some of those reflex servitors that Convergence has, and I rode up to near one of them in melee with the other. The other one got undug. I was able to do a trampling hooves attack on it. I missed because that happens.
Yeah.
But then I was able to use the scattergunner attached thing to shoot the other one that was dug in within 6 inches that couldn't countercharge yet. And then I lobbed its big-ass gun, which I haven't even gotten into how fantastic that thing is. But then I lobbed its big-ass gun at another target and then rode away. I took the free strike and the servitor blew off half my wagon, but that was a bad move. Ideally, it would have been dead and I wouldn't have to worry.
That's why you got to bring your Goblin Tinkerer, because it's repairable.
No, you don't. The Goblin Tinker will never be close enough to that thing to fix it. Which actually brings me to another mistake a lot of people, I think, use the wagon, is they take the wagon instead of a bomber.
Yeah.
What the wagon really, I think, is best at is it's got Pathfinder, it's fearless, it's got a lot of hit points, and it doesn't... There's not a lot of support rules that even work on the thing. So I use it as a flanking piece. I put it way off on a board edge where the opponent has a hard time counter-deploying against it. If they send swarms of infantry, you lob its big-ass pipe template onto the infantry and blow them up. If they're sending something big at it, they send something big off to a flank. They're going to kill your wagon, but if Gedrex is 12 inches from the board edge, he's probably not anywhere near your important stuff.
True. Very true.
So it holds its own on a flank, and it moves fast enough where if your opponent ignores it for 2 or 3 turns, it gets into some really dangerous positions. Everything about that War Wagon knocks stuff down. The impact attacks will. The actual just attack will, if you hit with it. And if you hit with the pie plate gun, anything in the template's knocked over. So real common strategy is if you've got a cluster of things that are just high defense or a nuisance and are immune to blast damage, target something that's got sloppy defense nearby, knock them all over, and fire the scattergun over the knocked down targets.
Yeah.
Or just one of the first games I had with the thing is someone was playing overconfident with Kane, had him behind a wall and everything, and had a squire sitting out in the open about 2 inches away from Kane. I shot the squire, knocked Kane over, and I didn't care anymore about the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So just use it to disrupt the opponent.
Knockdown model still does receive cover, though.
Yeah, they do, but defense 9 is pretty easy to hit.
I know. And hence why you play trolls, because defense 9, generally is pretty easy to hit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead, unless you have anything else on the War
Wagon tech.
You still have more
I
War
got
Wagon
more
tech?
War Wagon tech.
Well, with the trampling hooves, and I don't play with the War Wagon enough, so
Shame on
forgive
you.
me if I misunderstand. Well, granted, mine's in pieces because I got it from some dude who couldn't put together a model for shit. But with the trampling hooves, you can move up, make your ride by attack, and then back out and let something else go in.
You can't do your ride by attack.
Okay, I thought I just read that it could do it make the attack without
You
charging.
have
Not as trampling hooves, as like a movement attack.
Oh yeah. With trampling hooves, yes, you can. I was mistaking it for the making it trample.
Yeah, no, the trampling hooves where you make a ride by attack with
you
those,
can move up,
knock something down and back up and let something else go in that can hit it easier.
Yeah, and so the things people commonly forget involving that too is the reason you may not want to do that instead of charging is to charge because it's cavalry. That charge attack benefits from the +2 mat.
Mm-hmm.
It has tall in the saddle, even though it doesn't really need it much. And then the big problem with the War Wagon, the one thing I will say that's an issue with it, is the interaction between impact attacks and its charge attack and weapons platform. If you charge a model, hit it with an impact attack, and kill it, you have failed your charge because you don't end your movement until after you resolve those impact attacks. So it's possible to charge something, impact attack, kill your charged target, and forfeit all of your gun shots.
Yeah.
So if you know that you want something alive because you want to make the gun shots more than anything else, charge a target that won't die from an impact attack, or don't take your impact attacks.
Yeah, or charge a group that you know you can deal with. Just like kill the 1 or 2 guys with the impact attack, and then after that,
As long as your charge attack or as your impact attack does not kill your charge target.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic piece. Just don't try to use it as a replacement bomber. It is crowd control that's independent of your army. Is set it aside, let it do its thing. If your opponent wants to deal with it, that's their problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think with the War Wagon 2, I'll have to go back to it, but I think there's some tech hanging out with Dozer and Smig.
Yes. Dozer and Smig's animus on that War Wagon makes the gun brutal. What normally keeps the gun in check is the fact that Rat 5 isn't going to hit too much to Quake.
Yeah, but you're
Dozer and Smig's animate puts it at 7. And if you do happen to miss against infantry swarms, you can control the deviation a little bit. And a 5-inch pie template covers a lot of stuff. The basic tech everyone talks about is always like trample forward and fire the gun. I don't like to do that too often because it usually makes the War Wagon too easy of a target to get to. I want my opponents to work to get it, not just hand it to them. And I almost never deploy the War Wagon center field, except when I'm fielding it with P Grizzle, because you can hoof it, so it can move forward 7 inches and then it can move back 7 inches.
Yeah.
But yeah, the War Wagon is actually a really good piece. It's just not outright destruction. It is distraction and an enabler piece. Other common uses, I fire it on shield walls all the time, because maybe the model, if I hit one of the shield wall models, which isn't usually hard, it'll probably kill the shield wall model and knock down all of his friends, so the best they can do on their turn is stand up and move. Because outside of Trollbloods, most factions don't have an easy way of standing up models.
Yeah.
True. Very true.
It just slows down their progress really quick if they're breaking up too hard.
Yep.
So
I dropped alcohol.
No, it's still sealed. But so you had something for after the War Wagon? 'Cause I like the War Wagon.
I do. We're not going to do like a 2-hour podcast about the War Wagon.
Yes, we are.
Oh my god. Krill Warriors.
Okay.
So I figure what we'll do during the unit section is if there is a soul that corresponds with them, that works very well.
Oh yeah. We'll
such as like eventually when we get to the not the scouts but the highwaymen, and Braylon works really well with them. We'll talk about Braylon then too. But otherwise, generally, we'll go into the units now, and then go into the solos. And there's going to be a lot of things we're going to talk about here.
Yeah. So, and actually, like, why don't we just do a jump to 2 really key solo pieces right out of the gate?
For Creel Wars?
For the army, because we're going to talk about them with every bloody thing past it. To be honest, let's go over. Let's discuss the Fellcaller.
He's not useful.
You're right. He's terrible. Nobody but me should ever take them. Yeah. So everyone should be familiar with the Fellcaller. It's tough-ish for a Trollblood solo. Defense 12, armor 15, and 8 boxes is not chump change, but it's not like a hero as far as like not getting killed. But the big strength for that Fellcaller is that model will do work every turn of the game, hands down. The 3 Fellcalls being +2 to melee attack rolls, Pathfinder, or everything within its command range of, I believe, 8, it might be 9, just stands up automatically. No matter what your army composition is, you can find use for at least one of those Fellcalls. It doesn't mean a Fellcaller needs to be in every list, but even if you're running like a Beast Brick, being able to stand up your War Beasts, because that is the one Fellcall that will work on a War Beast from him, without forcing them, is a big deal.
Yeah.
To top it all off, those wonderful, wonderful unit or model warrior boosts that he can provide work outside of his activation. So he's packing 2 power 10 mat 5 weapon master swords and a range 8 rat 6 power 12 spray. On his own, the spray is good. You use it to unjam figures. Late game, you countercharge with him to murder things with the weapon master attacks. He just does that. But I wanted to bring him up just because Pathfinder and +2 to melee attack rolls has very heavy interactions with a lot of our units.
I spell foul wrong.
Did you see the Feels caster? Or the Feels caller?
No, I spelled Fellcaller with 1 L or as in like for Warcraft? Because
I don't know.
For Fel Iron.
I think it could be spelled both ways because I think some of the conjoined ones only use one L. But either way, yeah. So
is he only one L?
He's double.
Okay, that's what I thought. Sorry.
Double L.
I know troll strategy, not troll spelling.
One of the cool things that I like about the Fel Caller is that like his Fel calls are anytime during his activation,
Yep.
so he can really do work and make sure that he can still complete those buffs, because sometimes your Fel Caller might need to charge something, and those Fel calls will still work because it's not
Yep.
a star action like some people might think.
Just make sure that the one thing you do with a lot of that, like you can even run and use those fel calls, but you have to make sure that you activate, use the fel call, and then do the running.
Exactly.
Correct.
Just like riling. Don't run, then rile.
Correct. It's like the same thing with Rupert. I mean, Rupert could use all of his calls, and he can actually run with them, but he has to do those calls before he actually does his run.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then his activation ends as soon as he's done.
Yeah. But it's just important to realize that those fel calls exist because there are several units in Trollbloods that almost don't work without them being available.
God damn it! I still actually even spelled the whole thing wrong. Fel call.
Caller.
No, it's Fel call hero.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's Fel Caller Hero. I'm looking at
No, it's Fel call hero.
it. No, it's not.
Fel caller hero. Yes, you're right. Because you're looking at it, and I was.
And you're drunk.
I'm not drunk yet. Jesus.
Don't tell me when I've had too much.
I need to finish this cup, and then I'll be. Then
I'm
I'll be
really
fine.
upset because I almost said everything I can about the fel caller here.
Well, I think like some of the units that he really, really helps out a lot are like pig burrowers.
Burrowers,
We'll
yes.
get there.
Burrowers are a number one with a bullet, but I think he's super important for Fenblades.
Yeah.
And to a lesser extent, even the Krell Warriors we were about to talk about.
Yeah, I think he's very useful for Creel
This
Warriors.
is one of those faction defining models. Like
Yeah.
he is. I'd say he's almost broken any other army, but at the same point in time, Scorn's got the marshal or the general, whatever he's called, that does almost the same stuff.
Yeah. Well, the only problem I have with the Fel Caller is that he's 3 points.
He's
Yeah,
3 points.
he's 3
He
points
is
at
worth
FA2,
every point
so-
of that.
I almost wish he was 2, but at the same
Well.
time,
I wish I won the lottery. It doesn't make it right.
that. What's wrong about winning the lottery?
I would do terrible things with that kind of money.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's worth every point of those three. Like I said, because he's a threat in and of himself, and he makes your army better.
Do you feel like you need to take 2 of them just to make sure that your opponent doesn't gut one out?
No,
He
usually
shouldn't be in the position
He-
to be gutted out.
Yeah, the way I usually use him is the first 2 turns of the game. He's throwing out buffs, Pathfinder or bonus to attack rolls, and then when my opponent is hopefully choking to death on most of my army is when he starts creeping up, and then like when my rest of my army's dead, he goes in to kill off something important.
I'm just thinking like totem hunters or rakes jumping around and trying to scalp them out.
He's got enough of a 5 inches is plenty when you only need to tag one model in the unit to provide a buff. So that if honestly, he's so usually back and center in my army near like the Krellstone and in safe defensible positions with the caster. If my opponent is putting a rake in that kind of position, I think I'm usually already in a bad spot to begin with.
Yeah.
I almost never run a Fel Caller on a flank or any advanced deploy or fast moving units. Like to go back to the example of Fenblades, once the Fenblades have bolted across the table, they're ignoring the Fel Caller until turn 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who are you playing that has a totem hunter?
I feel the Totem Hunter.
Yeah, I fielded a totem hunter.
Totem
I
Hunters are
What's up?
rarely see him.
really, they're actually a really good answer to Eris.
Yes, I mean he's a very good solo killing person,
Yeah.
but honestly, I just rarely see him on the field.
It's easy to forget about him.
Yeah, true.
I can't remember.
He was much
I
more
just
awesome
recently
when Carnage for You was advanced deploying them.
I played
Then
against
they were
them?
much more frightening at that point, is when he was being advanced deployed.
Lewis dropped one
Holy
against
cow.
me when I was here last week or so.
Advanced deploying?
No, yeah, well, no, the totem hunter.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was advanced deploying, but I know I killed it with a stalker.
Well, it can't advance deploy. That was the joke. 'Cause
okay, gotcha. I was
Brian was playing it for long, for like a good
Well,
like
they got a
6
lot of abilities
months.
that make you think they're advanced deploy. Like he's
It
got
seems like they
stealth,
should.
which seems a little out of place, and he's got Pathfinder and he's got Leap.
Yeah.
But no, Totem Hunters are good.
Yeah, generally I agree with you, though. Pretty much most of the time, your Fel Caller is not going to be in the front ranks. He's going to be in the back, kind of hanging out, going.
Use him to
giving
punish
little
an
buffs.
opponent late game. Like I've gotten caster kills with him because most of my army's dead, but the Fel Caller survived. But just don't let him hang out in the wind because your opponent will kill them first chance they get.
Yeah. He is that important of a piece.
Yeah, but fielding 2 to make sure that the buffs are around. No, fielding 2 because fell callers are awesome. Sure. Like in case of the totem hunter, a fair trade for taking out a totem hunter is another fell caller.
Yeah. I just feel like sometimes because I run fens and pigs a lot together, or pig growers, so like they're very not near one another. So having 2 units that kind of really want that buff really makes me want to take 2 of them.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with taking 2, but 2 to ensure that 1 unit gets buffed is overkill.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, because I mean they're very strong in their own right. Prime Grizzle's Theme Force lets you take fell callers. I think even at a reduced point cost. Either a better field allotment or a reduced point cost, I think. Which has a lot of score energy just because you can't stack up the fell calls. But they're a good enough solo in their own right that, like, take out the fell calling buffing, they're almost worth 3 points in combat ability. Almost.
Because they can buff themselves, too.
They can buff themselves, sort of. Like
if they need to. I mean, like, they can get their +2 to hit.
Yeah. But, actually, I'm not 100% certain. The rules on where, if you're in command range or not, are finicky.
For what? The fell caller?
Friendly model unit, if it's in range?
In command range. But I don't remember if it's a Mark II or a Mark I discussion if a model's in its own command range.
It's not in command range, it's a range 5 thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's targeted with the range, so...
Yeah, that's a good point. So never mind. Yeah, they can bolster themselves up. But yeah,
they need it, yeah.
But yeah, they're almost through on their own right. It's just the fell calls are bonus. Well, Andy's tired of this discussion, so let's move on to the other important enabler solo, being the Chronicler.
I was going to actually go for a quick pause here so we can actually make sure that with the audio podcast of this is solid and not broken like the previous one.
Yeah, all right. So we'll take a break, and we'll see you soon? How long does it take?
I'm going to say a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the scene here over to blank text, or just blank. And we'll be back.
You have some awesome hold music?
I don't have any awesome hold music.
Oh,
you know, I should not. I should actually click on. There we go.
Well, I was going to take off my shirt and dance rudely in front of the camera because no one could see.
Going back alive right now. So, there we go. We're waiting for Jeff to get back here so he could talk about some awesome things.
The Chronicler was the
next Chronicler.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Chronic.
So, we're supposed to be talking about troops.
It's a troop, kind of.
Yeah, these guys are kind of like...
The thing is we're going to call back to these models for every other bloody unit.
Yeah, exactly. Every XXX unit is great with the fell color.
It'd be kind of like talking about the Menoth Jacks without first talking about the choir.
Yeah, you can't... They don't exist in two different realms. They're one in the... They live in the same...
I rarely see them in two different lists as well.
Yeah.
It's like if I ever see a metal list with a bunch of choir, but no Jacks.
Man, what? They're like POW 8? whatever.
Yeah, they're murder
Hey,
machines.
I won an event where not an event, but I won a game where I had my choir member charging Fiora 2 and killing her.
I think the best I've gotten is Silas charging Rovin's bodyguard. That was a good one.
Nice. Yeah. I wish I can get Jim on our podcast a lot more because Jim has some really awesome stories. He has a great story about talking about where he peeled the onion. It was Karchev sitting on a hill in sidearms with a Boker bodyguard and a bunch of other things. So he was just buffed up the max, and Jim killed Karchev that turn from full to death.
That's pretty harsh.
Yeah, with the final blow being dealt by Orin Midwinter with a charge.
He just old man pulls him by the ear.
Yeah.
To me, Sonny.
You're gonna give up this fight right now.
It was pretty impressive. All right. Oh my God, we have so much to go through.
Oh, it'll be fine.
I
Until we get
can't-
to the casters, it's gonna be a long talk.
I honestly don't know if I could survive.
If you don't, can I have your stuff?
No.
Then we better keep you alive.
Stones.
I should probably cancel that life insurance
You
policy.
just need more root beer so you can get charged
Yeah.
again.
I'm gonna make a text to somebody and see if they can bring us some root beer. Do we want any food?
I mean, food's always good.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends what they're gonna be bringing, you know.
The beer runs through me, and I think pizza right away. But
Yeah, I mean, we don't want someone to bring us like anchovy quiche or anything like that.
haggis.
You honestly just topped all the horrible things I could possibly think of for food to come here. Is anchovy quiche? That's it. That's
Yep.
the diet. I'm
Told ya,
done.
we have to be specific.
I'm done. I'm out.
Well, let's talk about the chronic.
Yeah, the chronic.
So the chronic is not as good as the fell caller, but it does some very, very similar stuff.
Makes things horrible.
What?
No, he's awesome.
Okay, I was like, what game are you playing? No, the Chronicler provides a non-fell call buff, which actually makes a big deal, so you can stack it up with the fell calls, and they're almost they've got weird features to it. Things like concealment and feign death. So you can give one unit concealment, which makes them harder to shoot, which for Trollbloods doesn't make them that much harder to shoot, just a nuisance. And for several models, like most of Legion or NIST, they don't even care. And then Feign Death is a neat little aside where the model will, if it's knocked down, can't be targeted by ranged or magic attacks. So once they hurt your model and it passes its tough check, then they just can't try again. Which interacts well with the Fell Caller, because the Fell Caller can just pick them back up and they run back out there. The most common Fell Call, or not Fell Call, Chronicler story you're going to see is Charge of the Trolls. Or not Charge of the Trolls, Hero's Tragedy. Hero's Tragedy is the one where if an enemy warrior model kills a model with Hero's Tragedy with a melee attack, at the end of their activation, they get knocked down. So what will happen is you'll run a jam in and you'll use that story on the opponent's models, so they'll kill half your force because they're Trollbloods and they do die easier than people think. And then their models all fall over, and then you have easy targets for retribution where you can take your low mat and low rat attacks and just hit automatically, so you don't need to worry about applying the buffs that Trollbloods are known for, and you can use those resources elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The really common one for that story is like Fen Blades. Is you roll up your Fen Blades and you use Hero's Tragedy, and the opponent kills your front rank, and then they fall over, and then your back rank moves up 3 inches with Vengeance, and then kills the knockdown figures really without a problem.
Yeah, Hero's Tragedy with Vengeance is really, really good.
Yeah, and it has a couple other interesting applications too, where like it just provides a knockdown model. We go back to the Lightning Troll, where now they've got something that's knocked down in the midst of a cluster of enemies, so you can Lightning Troll that target, hit them easy, and leap lightning into other stuff.
Yep.
And then the last story, which is the one I probably use the least, is Charge of the Trolls, because I don't feel that the payoff usually makes it worthwhile. Charge of the Trolls is when a enemy model is within melee range of a friendly faction war beast, then the model unit that received Hero's Tragedy,
Charge of the Trolls.
Charge of the Trolls. I've been drinking.
Not as much as me, and I remembered what it was.
I'm not a professional. Yeah. So receive charge of the trolls will get +2 to its attack and damage rolls, which is actually one of the few places that Trollbloods have a passive damage buff.
Well, it seems like this might be a good way to like shoehorn in maybe some more use out of the Night Troll, because he will be closer to those guys. Granted, he might be dead before you get to charge with something to make charge of the trolls worth a damn, but it is something where you can try to pull them all in one spot and then maybe get some reach guys in there.
Yeah,
that's where my double shielded dire troll would come into play.
Just march up and
it would march up. He'd be like armor 25, and no one will be able to touch him.
See, but for that circumstance, I'd rather have a troll with like 1 shield and reach that can engage a lot of things. And I can't seem to think of any troll models that do that. Oh wait, there's the bouncer.
With Privateer Press taking so much from Khador these days, polar bear riding casters and
take that.
and
Wait,
guns.
which caster in Khador rides a polar bear?
It should have been theirs first.
They were begging for years for that,
but now they just have to make the double shielded dire troll with a Devastator, and when he opens up, he just belches a sonic boom.
He'll be a Devon troll that burps. Yes.
But yeah, with Charge of the Trolls, what I normally do is I take the throwaway, not really melee lights with reach, like Impalers and Bouncers, and engage as much as I can, so another unit with reach can come in and pick up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little hard to set up because most Trollblood beasts don't mind if I do. Most Trollblood beasts don't have reach to really capitalize it, so you're only really getting charge of the trolls on 1 or 2 figures in most cases.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder to just set up. But he's a general boost, and he does work well with a lot of other models and units in a more defensive capability. The Fellcaller, I guess you had to compare the Fellcaller's offensive, and the Chronicler is going to be defensive.
Yeah.
And I'll even say that as much for a hero's tragedy, because ideally, if something's engaged with a beast, it should have been dead already.
That's about an ounce, right?
Yeah.
That's
that's a standard ounce instead of.
Is that like that's more than 3 fingers?
Well, with
isn't it supposed to be 2 fingers? Is that what the thing is for like whiskey?
I don't think that's really a fair comparison, because I've seen some bartenders with like gorilla hands who have just wear their fingers like an inch apiece.
They're wearing mittens as well. They go to pour it in. All right.
See, those are the bartenders you go to like 2 fingers, like alrighty, that's like 2 fingers, Ninja Turtle fingers.
Another
or
thing,
Simpson.
Yeah.
Another thing with the Chronicler that kind of gets a little bit more mileage out of the Tales of Mist is when you're looking at units who can receive Iron Flesh, but based on the caster they're playing with, as I'm looking at the culprit, getting Iron Flesh and concealment on them makes them a lot more difficult to remove when they're your first, they're your first force that goes in.
Anytime you can start stacking up those defensive boosts. So like another one is with Jarl and Quicken, is an extra effectively 4 defense versus shooting is.
And that's deceleration, right? I'm pretty sure. +4 defense against shooting, +4 armor. Never mind.
I don't know.
So you're talking about for Jarl? Jarl gives Quicken.
No, I'm just saying like the comparison of decel.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh, decel is +2 defense, +2 armor.
Okay, so it's
against non-magical attacks.
It's kind of there. In a weird way, it made sense in my head.
Okay.
But no, it's and that's it. And don't count the Chronicler out for other things like because the units he's protecting tend to die eventually. He's a really good piece for late game scenario claiming. Is just because he's still a solo. He just
sits there.
He can sprint into a zone or walk over to a flag and go, "Yo, this is mine. I got a story bot and everything." And
he's like the Mr. Rogers of War Machine.
Except his stories are a lot more grim than that.
They might be.
I don't recall the story Mr. Rogers told where everybody died, but it was okay.
I'm sure he had it going around in his head once or twice.
I'm certain mostly about his camera crew, but yeah. So like he can claim objectives, and he's not a super huge chump in melee. I think he's Mat 6 and power and strength 11 or something like that.
Yeah, he's Mat 6, pow plus strength 11.
Yeah, so I mean it's not great, but
no, it's there though. It is something.
Yeah. And so he's got a lot of utility for that, and I particularly like I said, Hero's Tragedy is the big enabler, is the stopping opponents in their tracks, and people often forget that it doesn't specify non-Warcaster warrior model.
Yeah.
So if someone goes like Butcher 3 on you and slaughters 2/3 of your army with him, and one of those units happens to have Hero's Tragedy, the Butcher falls over.
Yep.
That's a thing.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I haven't seen it happen with Butcher 3 because I think most people are smarter than that. But I have seen it happen with Terminus.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So those are the two buff models that are going to have synergy with just about everything else in the army. So now we can talk about units, Andy.
Creel Warriors, boom.
Yeah.
I'm not up with the graphics yet, but
What?
that's fine.
What? I am totally disappointed.
I'm trying to get us root beer
I'm
here.
keep drinking this magic juice till my problem goes away.
Well, that's what most people do anyway.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't work.
You sure? Pretty certain I feel my liver failing, and that's a problem.
I think it works just fine. When your liver fails, you feel it working. Wait, what?
You don't know what you got till it's gone, I guess.
All right, so Creel Warriors.
Trying to get root beer from people. No one's answering.
Oh, what a bunch of jerks.
Yep.
You should tell them there's punch and pie. More people come if you tell them there's punch and pie.
Or I'll tell Brian there's punch and pie.
So Creel Warriors are my favorite tar pit unit in Trollbloods.
They are pretty sexy.
Yeah. So if you look at the unit just on its own without any of the attachments or any of the frills, they're as about as vanilla as you can get. They're speed 5, they're mat 5, they're defense 12, and they're armor 15. So
you made me go out and get all those books out, but we've gone through almost 3.5 hours of this podcast without you needing any of these books or even War Room to talk about them.
remember I said I was Troll Jeff and it wasn't because I play Trollbloods?
Because you live under a bridge. That's why. Reading
There might be other
Trollblood books.
reasons.
God damn it.
Well, it was so hard.
Yeah.
But either way, they're very, very generic. And for that generic stat line, you pay generic points. They're a 4/6 unit.
You also pay generic money.
Well, hey, they
Not
don't have
anymore.
any scopes
No,
out there.
Not anymore. Not right
Are
now.
we reviewing the costs too? Because holy cow, we have glossed over some problems.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're just... Creel Warriors used to be like $120 to have like a full unit of them. Now they're much, much cheaper.
Yeah.
As in, I think
Like
60.
The full kit is I think between $50 and $60 cheaper than it was like 2 years. Well, not even 2 years ago. A year ago.
I think you get the caber throwers in that box set too.
Yep.
Don't you?
Yeah,
Just like
they're
the
on
winter
plastic.
guard.
And the caber tossers on their own right were $18.
Yeah.
So
More ways to make trolls more accessible for new players, so they don't have to spam base solid.
Privateer knew it was a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they basically sold everything that they sold normally was by weight of the actual pewter,
And that's fair.
and they are heavy in pewter because they're
Bigger models.
Bigger models.
Exactly.
They're
That's the
ogre-sized
troll
units.
problem. Yep.
Is basically what Trollbloods are.
Yeah, and so it's I don't blame them for that, but yeah, now that Crows are affordable, they're just super generic. But they've got 2 rules on them other than tough, which just for reference, everything we talk about from here on forward has tough.
Well,
Almost.
Except whelps, I know.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they have probably one of the best attachments in the game. They have a standard that just makes them so they cannot be knocked down.
Yep.
Yeah, steady.
In fact, that's all. The UA has 2 rules, and that's the Banner Grant steady, and the Piper makes sure that they've got insteps. So their control or the command range is 3 inches larger for.
Yep.
Coherency.
Yep.
That C word.
You have not drank enough of that.
Sorry.
Holy shit, this is almost gone.
I'm not drinking enough of that. Holy shit, that's almost gone.
Well, it's because of you and your eyes bigger than my stomach.
What are you talking about? My cup is the same size as your guys's.
Sure, if you put all 3 of them together. Like, why did you bring...
You're bad at depth perception.
It's the same size.
Yeah, that's it. But either way, that's all the UA does, and it's fantastic because defense 12 isn't hard to hit, but they at least have to roll. And if your Crow Warriors pass their tough check, guess what? They still have to roll again, as opposed to getting a freebie on that knockdown model.
Yep.
And the instep actually pays out a lot of big because for a unit designed to clog up the enemy, being able to spread them out farther makes a big deal. Now, just in light of the game-ending errata that would have stopped Trollbloods from working at all, where if something's out of coherency, you can't buff them. It is nice to keep them not at arm's length for that coherency bubble. Keep them at least a little bit in there. So if you've got some sloppy movement or somebody pushes or shoves a model, you're not out of coherency anymore. That said, they go up to an 11-inch coherency bubble from their leader, which is pretty generous.
Yeah.
especially considering they're on fat body to Trollkin.
The awesome part about the Creel Warriors, as well as standing up, is you can slam them into other things and they'll still be standing.
Yep. Yeah. Unless you've been living in a cave on the internet, you've probably heard of Krell bowling. So for those people who've been living in caves, all Krell bowling is you take a Krell warrior who is standing in front of some ridiculously high defense model you don't want to deal with that way, and you slam it. You hit it with a war beast, you hit it with a long rider, it doesn't really matter. You take your medium based model and you slam it. Because unless that other opponent with a super huge defense is on a large base, your Krell warrior will either slide into it and knock them both down, except the Krell warrior because he's got your standard, or just your Krell warrior will slide right over the small based enemy model. And then it will be knocked down and either dead from the collateral damage or as good as dead because you've got a unit of Krell warriors standing over it.
Honestly, I haven't seen Creel Warriors really kill many things, but they definitely get in the way of a lot of things.
I don't see Krell Warriors kill anything, but I have seen Cabers kill a lot of things.
UA. Oh yeah. Or the weapon attachment.
Yes. Yeah. So what the Cabers are is basically it's a big stone stick. It's one model with reach and like a power 7 weapon, so it hits at about a what?
Nothing. Go ahead. I saw something silly on my computer. I turned it away.
So I talk about my big stone stick.
You can talk about your big stone stick all you want.
Talk about my big stone stick. It's got momentum. Yeah. So my big stone stick has momentum
and 2-inch reach.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it's got more than 2 inches. I've got a Mark 1 caber, so it's got 6 inches. It's still not impressive, but it's better than 2.
God, the Mark 1 cabers are so broken. Oh.
Either way. So the big highlight is that power 7 takes up to a power and strength like 13 weapon when combined with the fervor fell prayer, maybe it's just a prayer. It's not even a prayer.
Oh no, yeah, the Creel prayers.
Yeah, there are 2 rules we glossed over. Is Krell warriors can either have +2 inches of movement on their turn, or they can have +2 to their attack and damage rolls.
It's
for
just
melee.
A prayer.
Yeah, it's just a prayer. Nothing stops it.
Yeah.
But either way, so we combine it with the Fervor Prayer, and it's a power and strength 15 weapon, which is impressive considering it's on a 1-point UA.
Exactly, respectable. Yeah.
But with the momentum, it means you're knocking over anything that's large based or smaller, and anything medium based, you're actually slamming it a couple inches. So an extension of the Krell bowling is actually within the same unit's activation, putting one Krell warrior in front of the target, and then using your caber to hit the other Krell warrior. Which will send them sliding around. And it may not even kill your Krell warrior, it could just be standing on its feet and attack somebody else. Which, I mean, you can't imagine the Krell warrior's happy after that, but...
Well, you gotta make sacrifices.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite parts about the Krell warrior fluff. I know it's not a strategy thing. I love how Trollblood training is to trust that it will grow back.
Yeah.
So, like tactics like catching a blade in your arm are acceptable in Trollblood armies, because, yeah, it'll take you out of commission for a couple of months, but they'll be dead and you won't.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you cut off an arm, but it'll grow back, right?
Whatever, yeah.
So yeah, that's Krell Warriors, and they're probably one of the strongest tar pit units out there outside of maybe some of the super exceptional ones like Errants or Boom Howlers.
Or anything in Carver's army.
Or anything in Carver's army, yeah.
Because Quagmire is a
Quagmire's a bad thing. But yeah, they're not likely to kill much on their own. They've got combined melee attack, and it might come up, but in most scenarios, you probably won't need it. Because if you need to hit, you're going to use that Fervor Call or Prayer. They're going to go up to Mat 7. And if you super duper need to hit, you're going to Fell Call them as well, and they'll be effectively a Mat 9. And if you need bigger numbers than that to hit, you might be using the wrong tactics on your opponent. Or you're really hoping for a Hail Mary prayer, routine.
Yeah, or you got tramped up by some Chaosies.
And even then, against the Chaosies, Krell Bowling is probably a better play.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that the combined melee may come up, and they go from power 10 to 14 with the prayer, and if you combine two of them, they go to 10 to 12, and then if you combine, they go to 14, which is nice, but without reach, it's not really going to happen much, and the caber can't participate in the combined melee attacks. But they are probably I'm glad they came out in plastic because when people are looking to build an army, they're the unit I want to point them to rather than Fenblades.
True.
But when people are building an army and they had to spend $130 to build the Krell boat versus I think it was like $60 for a Fenblade unit without the UA, I can't tell someone who's starting the game to spend twice the price on one unit.
Well, and the Creel Warriors, they're a little more simplistic to get the understanding of. Like when we get to Fenblades, I think people misjudge them or what they're supposed to do. So I think the Creel Warriors really give you a lot of ideas about what it is to have like a forward-facing unit.
Well, and they
I
do
think
have
they're
roles.
basically I think they're basically the absolute core unit of trolls.
Yes.
I mean they're the best unit in that regards. I mean, sure you have champions, sure you have Fenblades, but Creel Warriors are they're the cheapest. They get the most maximum. You have 15 models on the field with them.
Yeah.
Actually 16.
Well,
No,
10
12,
guys,
15 models.
It's
yeah.
15, but those 15 models run you a grand total of what? 6, 8, 11 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that you're getting a really big deal
Yeah.
for a potentially. Do they have a? They don't have 4+ tough anymore, do they?
No,
Is
nothing
it,
does. But they've
That,
got
that was Mark 1, wasn't
Right.
it? Yeah.
They've got 5+ tough that they won't be knocked down unless the opponent snipes out the standard,
Yeah.
and they've got their stats are not good. Like if someone targets them, they're going to die, but blast damage has to work for it.
Yeah.
Like armor 15, you can't just decide to have blast damage kill them.
Correct.
So they're just rough and tumble, and they're there to slow your opponent down. They get in the way and stop your opponent's advance pretty handily and clog them up. And they can't just ignore them because if those cabers sneak up, they will end games.
Yep.
More than a couple games I've had spots where someone's like it got dragged out to those last couple of figures, and there's one caber lurking in a unit. Someone sneaks up their caster and caber bunks the caster, knocks them on their backside, and the rest of the army goes, oh.
That's where Digby's really shine.
Honestly, in a knockdown caster, the whole army gets wide-eyed.
True. Very true.
We're gonna do what to you now?
I honestly think Digby's though really like that.
Yeah.
Like they all have to change their loincloths afterwards.
Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, the just Krell Warriors. Like if you're starting a Trollblood army or looking at starting one, this should be the first unit you buy. Like the first purchases you should, after you establish what your battle group and caster want to be, should probably be Krell Warriors, Fellcaller, and if we had to go one further, the Stone, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Which actually might be next.
What's next?
I think it's the Krell Stone, isn't it?
It is the Creel Stone Bearer and Stone Scribes.
Oh, okay. So,
I'm gonna pee.
really? You gonna go to the bathroom or just now? Things that make you go, ah.
My seat is all warm now.
That's the problem. If you're going to piss yourself in your chair, you close your legs so that shit doesn't get down to your ass so you don't have swamp ass while you're sitting here all
Oh,
night.
so it just goes down like the crack of my legs?
Yeah, you just kind of like, it filters
Mix-
down
I-
towards the bottom.
I have a problem understanding how swamp ass is going to be substantially better or worse than just pissing yourself and smelling urine.
Because then your ass crack doesn't itch. You just smell bad.
Okay. Point taken. I will concede to your knowledge.
If you
of
ever
swamp
need
ass.
any more information about pissing yourself, hit me up.
We're gonna have another special podcast for that one.
Ways to soil yourself.
Somebody did mention that Creostone Cabers are really good with Crusher. And yes, they are.
Yeah. The only limitation on that is, and I use quotation marks because you have to keep the unit coherency, but
Yeah,
you got
you're
an
getting a
11-inch
big
bubble.
range, yeah.
Yeah. They're actually not terrible with, even outside of P-Magic's Crusher, Imagirax's feat, just being able to single out attack every model in that 2-inch reach and hit them with momentum is often a surprise to people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right out of people to try to ask to get root beer.
Are you sure? You got a whole bunch of people. We said distance is not a limitation. We got anybody in Illinois willing to drive up here and bring us root beer?
Brian will get us root beer because he has a game over at his place, and Jeremy's not
That
answering
seems
me.
like a terrible excuse.
They could make it a game. I mean,
Jeremy Rhett is already gone. I think he's gone
Yeah.
for today.
Yeah.
Nathan is down in...
Yeah, he has some pretty intense family issues you should take care of.
So we could ask Jordan.
I don't think Jordan's going to do anything for me.
Yeah.
Have you asked other Jeremy?
I could ask Dixie. Nobody knows Dixie, but I wonder if she would bring us root beer.
Yeah, I don't know Dixie.
She's my coworker.
Okay. Will Dixie bring us root beer?
I don't know.
Is she nice enough to bring us root beer?
Desperate times, Andy.
Possibly,
Desperate times.
possibly desperate times. Yes. Considering I am no shape to drive.
We should pull the audience in this one on the best strategies to get root beer.
I think one of us will have to end up venturing outside, and at least outside is not like 2 days ago where it was like in single digits.
Well,
Yeah.
at least that would sober you up a little bit if you go out there and get your nippies warm or cold.
I'll just carry the long iced tea around my neck like
Bernard.
like a Saint Bernard.
This is in case I start freezing to death. It won't work, but I don't care.
Yeah.
At least I'll die happy and
Hey,
drunk.
at least it makes you think like you feel warm, which is honestly all that you need in order to survive.
Mind
generally.
over matter. Yep.
Yep.
Mind over matter.
I don't know. There's a point when mind doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we could always bring a volleyball too. That seemed to work for Tom Hanks.
Oh, is it Wilson?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking volleyball.
I don't get it.
How
How
is
does
this?
volleyball-
Are you trying to set this up to me?
Yeah. So about the Krellstone.
Yeah.
The Krellstone makes me hard.
It makes everybody like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's of every unit that people complain about is like, oh, I wish I had this. I think everyone could agree in any army the stone would just be bonkers.
Yeah. It is. It's another one of
Well,
those.
it's pretty bonkers to trolls in the first place.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it would be stupid bonkers.
Oh,
for the
yeah,
factions.
yeah.
Like I can't even imagine what would happen if you dropped that stone in Ghidoran hands.
Yeah, Kador would love the crap out of it, or like Legion even, with them handing out spiny growth and tenacity already.
Yeah.
And then having this big bubble of +2 armor.
Or Signar and stacking it up with Arcane Shield.
Yeah.
True,
Or
very
armies
true.
that hate the continuous effects.
Hey, speaking of Signar, we had a Who's the Boss event where somebody ran a Striker 1 in a Trollblood force.
Ooh.
So
Everything was armor
That's
plus
pretty bad.
7. Oh no, plus 10 on one unit.
Creel Warrior, or not Creel Warriors, but champions
Oh.
running around with armor 28.
Nobody is stopping that. Wow.
But yeah, that also goes to explain why the Creel Stone is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even not counting the UA, the fact that you can stack Fury up on this and just spend it at one go to give a +2 armor aura around, like to everything within 4 inches plus the number of Fury on it, is a big deal. That is the equivalent of basically. It's an expensive first turn Arcane Shield that you share with everybody.
And it's also dynamic as well. So let's say first turn you drop a couple Fury into it, and it runs and moves up 5 or 4 whatever inches. So it only has that aura plus 4. Next turn it does the same thing again, but then you dump more into the stone up to 7.
Yep.
Then it's got 11 inches of horribleness.
Well, and especially in an army where, like, in my experience with Trollbloods, there are very few casters that I'll run a whole lot of Fury resources with.
Mm-hmm.
So the stone works as a focus battery, too, for casters who, like, on turn 1 or 2, they might not do a whole lot with their Fury, so they'll dump it in there for later when their beasts start dying and they don't have to cut themselves.
Yeah.
Or
Particularly casters that
Rely
don't
on
have a
Keg.
lot to do turn 1 or turn 2. The Prime Grizzles, the
Borka.
Borka. What? Is Dixie not bringing us root beer?
No, Dixie's bringing us root beer, but again,
Yay, Dixie! I know she is, but I love her.
again, muscle memory.
Get off of WoW, it's terrible.
I'm trying to go into
Yeah.
one of the screens here,
You-
and I accidentally open up my Battle.net account all the time to go into WoW. So
You need to see somebody about that. That might be if you've got a physical problem with World of Warcraft, that is a whole new caliber.
I have an egg that hatched about 4 hours ago. That you need to know what it hatched.
Maybe it was an omelet.
About 5 years ago, I started theorizing that there would be psychologists that specialize in dealing with World of Warcraft addictions, and I think we might have to turn this episode into one, Andy.
No, this
You
is
could be on the
not.
forefront of the medical community.
This is not an intervention. I will get a knife.
Yeah, so we'll discuss how the Krellstone can stop a WoW addiction. It can't.
Krillstone cannot stop a WoW addiction.
It should be able to, based
Nope.
on what everything else it
So
can
it's a walking armor buff. So basically, what you can kind of assume is anything we've talked about in the Trollblood army has an easy potential to have 2 more armor than it really does.
On top of that, the attachment for the Creel
Yes.
Stone is
It's almost
bonkers.
compulsory is really what it is.
It's definitely.
It has
I go for the UA before I go for the extra guys.
yeah, exactly.
The UA doesn't do much in terms of itself. All it does.
Yeah, the only thing
Yeah.
that this amazing piece does for
People
this unit.
on the audio podcast cannot read your air quotes.
Well, too bad. They should be able to read into the dramatic pauses. I am a fantastic actor. I am not. But either way, all it does is it enhances the aura. It gives it either an extra 1 strength. It makes everything in the aura immune to continuous effects, and immediately dispels those continuous effects. Mm-hmm. Or it makes any enemy models in the aura lose stealth and/or incorporeal.
Yep.
Which is amazing for that UA makes it so that the Creel Stone is really hard to not take with almost every caster. I mean, you're looking at your ranged casters really liking not having stealth, and if you're running a bunch of infantry, which most lists will, it makes it so that continuous fire isn't screwing over your good tough checks because you don't have to try and do them again.
Correct.
I will disagree with take with almost every caster. It's a very good unit, but there are some casters who play such an aggressive game. I don't think they can spend the time to feed the stone.
There was an almost in there.
Oh, okay. But and that's the big problem is the stone does eat up your fury. Like Trollbloods have been blessed, I guess, in the fact that they don't have a lot of upkeep stacking casters. There are a couple out there. Prime Madrak likes his upkeeps and expensive spells. Epic Borka is a little upkeep heavy.
Mm-hmm.
To a lesser extent, Jarl is very upkeep heavy. Well, actually, he's more upkeep heavy than any of our other casters. Now I think about it.
How is Captain Morgan Long Island iced tea mixed with Coke?
You know, I was looking for something to kind of take the sweetness off.
Yeah.
And maybe I've just been so used to Coke that I just think that it's not sugar. What's that? That's like life. But, it's actually pretty decent, and I think I can, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'll have
what
to
was I
try that
saying?
in a second.
Something about not every caster wants to feed the stone. And I often find with the ranged casters, the ones where I don't want the stone, because they can start harassing the opponent the very first turn of the game because the Impaler exists.
They can, but getting rid of stealth when you're sitting there looking at certain models, I mean, like, the troll, unit ranged game might not be that great, but getting rid of stealth, I think, is decent.
And that's one spot where I know that I'm not in the majority just because I don't use the stone very often. Most of my Trollblood lists don't care enough about stealth where I'm willing to give up the stone to kill it.
Yeah, I guess that's another
because
thing.
Because Prime Grim himself just outright ignores stealth.
Yeah.
Epic Grim has Mage Sight, I think the spell's called, but basically him and his battle group can ignore stealth on one figure.
Yep.
Jarl has Magic Bullet, so he won't be any good against units or armies with stealth, but I can usually find something to shoot to bounce a Magic Bullet off of into a stealth model.
Yeah.
And then the Trollbloods, more than almost any other army, have a preponderance of spray attacks.
Yeah,
or blast damage.
My problem might not be using the sprays so much to my advantage because I keep on getting clogged up with Bane Knight or Bane Thralls.
Banes are a concern.
Yeah,
but anything with stealth, yeah, Banes.
Banes are the big one because most other targets with stealth, bombers or the War Wagon,
yeah,
we'll be able to fix. So I don't care so much about ignoring stealth. Incorporeal is a bigger deal because there are far fewer things in the Trollblood army that can handle Incorporeal.
Exactly.
But those are just some of the basic functions that makes the stone so useful. So I mean, it doesn't take a lot of brain power to put together the +1 strength. I should turn on the aura and ramp up anything I want to within the aura an extra strength. The trick is usually getting the activations right because the Curlstone tends to follow behind the army, or your opponent will murder it because they don't want that around.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to activate it first and keep some of the more aggressive or forward-pushing units in that aura for that offense.
But that's just another nice thing about the stone is that, I don't know if it's just if inexperienced players have a problem with this, but the stone isn't something you can snipe out. That's
not with one shot.
Yeah, you have to, because that's going to pass on to the other guys too.
Yeah.
It's almost like a sacked one that works for them.
Yeah, and it's
Correct.
very, very close. We're basically, if for those of you who aren't in the know, if you kill the stone with, if an enemy attack kills the stone, another model within the unit within 3 inches can basically be killed by it instead.
Yeah.
And this is after tough check. So the stone gets a tough check. In most cases, I actually hope the stone fails the tough check because I'd rather have the stone standing than knocked down and then the following attacks killing its friends.
Yeah. The stone also, the aura is anytime during its activation.
Right.
So it is not a star attack.
So,
You
so
can
like the
pop
Fell Caller and the
run.
Chronicler, yep, is you want to run with it, you activate the unit, you tell it which aura is going on, you spend the Fury, and you run it wherever.
Yep.
Although speaking of running, the other thing people really overlook with that unit in particular is the scribes. They're not the stone model, but the scribes are actually half decent melee fighters. Mat 5 isn't impressive, but they are power and strength 11, or if the stone is pumping up their strength, they're power and strength 12. And remember how we were talking about things like Charge of the Trolls or the Fell Caller that ramps up that mat?
Yeah.
It's unlikely but not unreasonable for those chroniclers or those scribes to get up to mat 9 power and strength with Charge of the Trolls kicking in, power and strength of 14. For a unit that's not really meant for melee, that's scary.
Exactly, because people often do discount the stone and the scribes as being just this little, carrying cardboard tubes guys who really don't do a whole lot, but they can surprise you as being a support piece that actually can do work.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like a recent game I had with them, I was playing with Prime Grizzle, and basically she chanted at them to give them an extra attack, and they were able to finish off the last of a squad to stop them from getting resurrected with. It was against convergence, and they had the rebuilding bots. I forget what they're called, but they rebuild things.
The Accretion Servitors?
No.
They're
the large-based.
Oh, the Enigma Foundries.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. The ones with the
they
weird
solved
face.
the Enigma.
The creepy face.
Yeah. So yeah, they're very good late game pieces too. So when everything's dying around, don't be afraid to send the scribes into the fight. They're fearless. They're tough. They're not incompetent. They're not good. But, if you hold them side by side to a Krull Warrior, they've got better offense than a Krull Warrior does without their prayer.
Yeah, and when you're in the late game, losing a scribe or two isn't going to harm you a whole lot.
Yeah. And then
Correct.
There's some other really dirty tricks you can pull. Because the stone itself is so hard to remove and other things take the hit, use the same kind of stunts you do with Exemplar Errands. Put the stone in some place where if they can't remove that model, they can't kill your caster. They might wipe out your stone scribe, your entire stone squad, but sometimes if that's stopping them from killing your caster, it means the game's in your hands.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's very, very hard to remove that stone and play it to your advantage.
That also makes it inkillable Madrak too. According to some sources on the internet, if you put the Stone Scribe, or not the Stone Scribe, the Stone Bearer next to Madrak, and you put
like
the entire crew behind him.
It doesn't work with Madrak, I don't think, but I think it does work with the Caber Tossers.
Well, it sounds like what you're doing is, you're passing the wounds off on Madrak to the Creelstone, but the Creelstone's passing them off to the Scribes.
Yeah, but the thing is, the Creelstone has to be killed by an enemy attack to do that.
Well,
and I don't so it started with an enemy attack. And that's different. So I don't think it works with Epic Madrak for the stone, but I think it works with the Caber throwers. Because that's one of the things about the stone. Like, if the stone gets caught on fire and burns to death, it
can't sack on that. Yeah.
Right. Somebody else has to pick up the stone. And the Fury moves with them, so you didn't lose a lot. But you can't just have somebody else pick up the stone in the same spot.
Yeah, because the stone doesn't have pickup. It's just a thing, self-sacrifice.
Right.
So yeah, after looking at Madrak's rules and the Creelstone, you could lose your Creelstone that way. So FYI, don't put your stone behind Madrak.
You could, but it would just turn off the stone's aura and move the model and Fury to somebody else. Which, don't do that. It seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, it would have to be a model with take-up is the main thing.
But
first rule of Stone Club is don't kill your own stone.
but exactly. Second rule of Stone Club is it's not an auto-include. It's very, very easy to use, and it's very frustrating against novice players because they just don't know what to do against the higher armor.
Yeah.
But there are lists where it will not help you as much as you think it will, and in some cases it will bog you down. It can be a very, very large detriment if you're not careful about it. It's better now that it can run and keep up with the army, but sometimes that fury drain or the point expenditure just doesn't warrant the extra armor. It's really noticeable when you have lots of squishier than normal infantry. Like a stone and fen blades in my book just don't match.
No, because you don't want to brick the fen blades. You want them fanned out.
Right.
I mean, their UA wants them fanned out, for crying out loud.
Well, even with like the Krell warriors themselves, is the unit likes to spread out so much, keeping them all within a 8 to 10 inch bubble is not often reasonable. And the difference between armor 15 and 17 for a single wound model is not a whole lot. Your average charging power 10 now has a little bit less than a 50-50 of killing it, but who's charging your stuff with a power 10?
Yeah, especially when you've got tough to back you up too. Like you can't be afraid to lose some of your forward units.
Yeah, the stone is much stronger on the sturdier Trollblood units, the long riders, the champions, the warders, and your beasts or anything that carries boxes to it.
Yeah, anything you want to keep alive, like Creelstone warriors. I don't think that your main goal is to make sure the entire unit comes out of the game unscathed. They're there to die before everything else does.
Yep.
And if they take out stuff on the way, then boom, guess what? Your 6 points worked.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So don't assume the stone is mandatory. And this is just my opinion coming out here, but don't take the stone with the intent to kill stealth unless you have a list explicitly that is shut down by it. It's a very good option, especially for late game. But more often than not, if you're running your stone forward to kill off stealth, you had best have a sure thing to kill the opponent's caster, because your stone's not going to survive till the next round, and it's too valuable a piece to just give up.
Yep. Generally, whatever I see and run into troubles against trolls is when they keep their Creelstone behind everything.
Yeah.
Where I end up having to run some kind of unit or something over into their flank to hopefully take care of the members of the choir or
the best nightmares I've given my opponents with the Krellstone have been when that Krellstone literally has like 1 point of fury on it and it's tagging behind the Warcaster, and the Warcaster's got really good armor, but the opponent has to get that extra distance to my stone because otherwise they don't really have a good chance against my caster.
Yeah.
And so that like bolting it forward to kill those effects, not often the best plan. It's not a never do scenario, but in many cases, against an experienced opponent, the payout's not going to be as good as you'd like.
All right. We should probably get on to the next unit.
But Krellstones.
Well, long riders are one of those units that I think are really like hard to understand for a lot of Trollblood players. They just really don't work the same way as most of the rest do.
Is that what we're on to now?
We're at the long riders right now. I'm just the only reason I'm saying is because we're looking at like a 10-hour podcast right now.
I don't know. I got 18 more beers here, so
I guess 1 per hour. We're all set.
Yeah,
but we're running
Sorry
out of
about
the
your
other stuff.
Saturday.
We're running low on the other stuff, and I cannot get other people to bring me a root beer.
Oh, what happened to Dixie?
She's like, I think you drank enough.
Oh,
well,
you should call her a poopy head.
I can hold I can hold off for a little bit and go get us some things if that's necessary.
Well, we can move on to the long riders.
Yeah, I mean, I could always jump off too, and I could always head out to the grocery store. Walk to the grocery store. I mean, it's
stumble
it's literally 2 blocks away.
To walking.
Can we pin a stumbling drunk token to your shirt?
I've got some somewhere.
We might need to have one of those those tags which like, hi, my name is Andy. If found, bring 2.
No, even better. No, hi, my name is Borka.
Don't shoot me. Or
I am the kick bearer.
Oh.
Please don't shoot.
Yeah. So either way,
I've got wind wall up.
Oh, is that what that smell is?
No.
Oh, okay. So long riders are, depending on who you're talking to, the best cavalry in the game.
Yes.
And the reason for it is not their direct stat line. It's because, unlike most cavalry, they have 8 health instead of 5.
8 health, and they have reach. They have reach all day.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. They have an amazing order for breaker. I think it's called
Bull Rush.
Bull Rush. Which allows them all to slam models and able to. Well, actually, if you have Horthol with them, who's an amazing ability or amazing solo, they can charge through each other with Bull Rush.
No, they can't.
What?
No, you are wrong.
I am wrong.
You are very wrong. I'll let you look it up, but I'll discuss the other aspects of what
Okay,
the
go
Long
ahead.
Riders do. So the Long Riders are slower than most cavalry. They're at speed 7, but they make up for that with that reach, and they do have powerful charge, so they're power 14 on the charge swing.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, like if you use them like any other army uses cavalry, you're actually going to be a little disappointed with them. What you really want them to do is make certain that you can actually close not within their reach range, but their impact attack range, because they're packing power 14 mount attacks, which I believe is one of the strongest mount attacks in the game. They just hit really, really hard with those impact attacks. And like with Horthol, they have a boosted attack roll on those impacts, so they're very likely to hit. And they will mess things up if they hit them directly. They do debatably more damage than the Trollkin champions do. The extra strength, though, comes from their order.
Ooh, I was thinking something different.
You were. But what their order does is, like I said, it lets them slam. So they can slam, and as a large base, they get the D6 inches, so you can topple things. They're a really good Krell bowling enabler.
It's a pee break.
Yeah, I will have to go sue too as well.
All I'm going to do is help with the podcast, not with that.
You can't help with the pee break? What? I don't understand.
It's not that I can't, it's I won't.
Oh. You know, you can't hold. I mean, come on.
I will
Jeez.
not. But that Bull Rush order lets them just do monstrous slams, so you can work your way around high defense models. And because things like the Fell Caller exist, you can fix up their mat to make it exceptionally high in the charge attack, up to a mat 11 charge attack, because of the cavalry boost and the Fell Caller. And then as one more final boost, that order, because it's officially a slam, doesn't mean you have to get the 3 inches to make the attack roll. You can issue the order on something like you would a charge attack.
Correct.
And if you don't move the 3 inches, what happens is you still make the melee attack with your mount.
Yep.
If you hit, they just don't get moved anywhere, but they still take the power 14 hit from that buffalo.
And you get the bonus to hit with that, because you get the...
No.
With Horthol.
No.
Man, I am...
Have you played Horthol? I think he does way different things than you think he does.
No, he does. He is line breaker.
That's impact attacks.
Oh, never mind.
So let's talk about Horthol before Andy gets any more of that wrong.
Oh, can I spell him right on the podcast? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Would you like the book? Would that help?
No, I have it. I just had Horthol.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Horthol is really good and really pricey. He's hard to justify in an army that doesn't have Long Riders with it because he's 5 points. Now, granted, that's 5 points for a total of 18 health to chew through. Hold on. I'm in the wrong spot for this.
You guys just need less fat friends.
All right. Horthol was doing things with stuff.
Horthol, yep.
Yes, okay. So Horthol, basically, he's built like a Long Rider. He can do everything a Long Rider can do, except he's got Mat 8, he's got 10 health, he's got Dragoon, so he can get knocked off of his Buffalo, and his weapon is just naturally power 14, I think, and has 15. Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah, he'll hit you hard. And he's got Crit Stagger, which is actually a really rare ability, where if he crits you, you lose your initial attacks, assuming you're not dead.
Yeah, most models. I mean, I can't really think of many models that even have that ability.
Yeah,
outside of Mark 1. I mean, Mark 1 had it like in a lot of places, but not.
Yeah,
not
it's
Mark 2.
not very common, and it's really, really cool when it happens. But like any other crit effect, don't count on it. Once again, for those of you who don't know, Crit Staggers, basically when you get staggered, you lose your initial attacks. So there's a lot of consequence to that, but like they never counted, and most infantry you're hitting with that are dead anyways.
Well, some of the benefits to it are like when you're charging a Slayer and they can't do Grab and Smash, or you're charging Berserker Drago, they can't do Bloodbath because they lose those initial attacks.
Exactly.
Anything that comes from an initial attack, Horthol just stops it.
Right, and by the same token, it stops any sort of special star attacks or star actions because their initials are gone.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for him. But the real strength of Horthal is he grants Long Riders 2 abilities. Grants might be the wrong term, but basically just by including him in your army list,
it's elite cadre.
Yeah. There we go. So he gives all those Long Riders Line Breaker. So for their impact attacks, they get an extra die. So not only are they really accurate on their charge, but their impact attacks rolling in with those monstrously powerful 14 mounts with crit knockdown are hitting very accurately. There are very few things in the game that can really hold up to that if they let you get an impact attack on them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the raw numbers on it, the Long Riders are MAT 7. If you fell call them, they're MAT 9. If you're boosting that, you can roll into a unit of Iron-Fleshed Kayazi and have decent chances of killing them. Because on average of 3d6, you're going to be at 10 to 11, which is 19 to 20. And I guarantee if one of those Kayazi gets hit by an impact attack, they're just done.
Yeah,
even the underboss who carries some wounds is not going to walk away happy. He might make a tough check, but he's probably going to be dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, then he gives them follow-up also.
Yep, which works with their other aspect, which Andy was trying to convey. So if you slam something, they've got follow-ups. They can keep going with the movement. And most of what that is really good for is, like, you go with like the Krell bowling on something that has something like tough. You can slam the Krell warrior, follow up to the tough model, and you still get to make one melee attack. Won't be a charge or anything, but you still get one more swing in there, and it just keeps the whole unit pushing forward. If the opponent has a very small lineup of beasts, you can actually use those slam attacks and follow-ups to push their line back in a very literal sense.
Exactly. Yeah, the Long Riders are like against those more elite style armies where like maybe you're going against, and forgive me if I might be thinking wrong here, but if I was going against a bunch of medium-based infantry, those guys wouldn't be so terrible to try and take them out.
No, and they wouldn't be because they've got a 10-inch charge on them essentially, and between the impact attacks and the charge attacks, they can do some very, very heavy damage. Now, here's the spot where the Long Riders start to fall through. A is price tag.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
A full unit of Long Riders is 11 points.
Well, they're also like $100 and some odd dollars.
Everything in Trollbloods is expensive. That's an army disadvantage at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just something to put as an aside that not only are they expensive point-wise, they are a pricey model.
Yeah. But if you include Horthal with them, then it's 16 points just for 6 models. The other thing too is while they are fairly tough, their armor 17 and 8 wounds, they are not that tough, and your opponent can still kill them when they want to.
Well, and they're also getting, with the speed that they have, they're also much more apt to get out of the Creelstone aura.
Well, and here's something that I think a lot of people do wrong with those Long Riders. The Long Riders aren't always meant to be on the front lines. With the rules for Fenblades, which we'll cover, Fenblades have a longer engagement range.
Oh, yeah.
A real, like for real.
Definitely with no quarter. They're really solid in that
So
regards.
Long Riders work really good as a... it's nice to have the Fellcaller buffs for the Mat or for Pathfinder, but they work their strongest as either a second line or a flanking force.
Yeah, with Horthal they seem better as a flank because they can manage themselves really well. They don't need the buffs so much if they're flanking.
Right. And a particular note with Horthal is even though he helps the squad out, I often find it's better to deploy Horthal on a different part of the field. Because none of his abilities have any specified range to boost those Long Riders, just including gives them the perks, so you can actually have some threatening cavalry on one side and a very threatening solo on another that have no natural synergy on the tabletop with each other.
Mm-hmm. They're both on Tuffalos.
Yep.
And that's about as far as it goes.
But yeah, they're a very, very strong unit, and they're another one of those squads that is devastating because they just don't realize all those Long Riders are capable of. But against an experienced player, they do lose a little bit of their mileage because they know some of the better ways to handle them. And Speed 7 is good for Trollbloods, but in Crix they've got the Raiders that just move Speed 7, and they're in high heels.
Or you've got other cavalry that's moving at speed 9.
Pro tip: high heels give you Speed 7. I've learned that from most of the War Machine games. That's not how it works. Don't the Daughters of the Flame, aren't they Speed 7 and high heels?
I don't know if they wear high heels or not. I know that the
they
Raiders do, but...
Yeah. Weigh in on this one, Andy. High heels, Speed 7?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. See?
Words of wisdom.
No, honestly, because the stupid chicks from Daughters of the Flame, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
The other one being the Styxis Raiders,
Yep.
which in my inebriated state, I'm surprised I could pronounce.
I still don't know the right pronunciation. That's why I was calling them the Raiders. They could be the Oakland Raiders, and I might label them a Speed 7.
Catbug is so soft.
I don't want to know what you and Catbug have been doing.
Andy's at the comforting moment of drunk.
Yeah. You want to touch Catbug?
Somebody must have mixed some acid.
Why is he
in it.
crusty? Nah,
He's really soft.
I know. Yeah, Long Riders. So, yeah, very, very good. They're just... Don't expect them to win you the game in their own right. They need to be lightly protected or they're just going to get picked off the table and you're going to be disappointed you spent 16 points on them.
Yeah, I think when some people see the price tag and the size of the model and first drop them, they're thinking that they're these indestructible machines that they're going to go into your opponent's backyard and start cleaving them up. They just don't work that way.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Is stick with some of the Trollblood standards like the Fenblades or the Crow Warriors. Let them get murdered first, and then send in the Long Riders to pick up the pieces.
Yep, it is really interesting. One of the overarching themes of like how a Trollblood army works is, you know, you're not, you very much are trying to emulate like how much like these old, Dark Ages type battles would be, where you do have that very committed. These are the guys who die first. And then everything else is what's going to be going in later.
Oh yeah, and that's actually one of the big strengths of the Trollblood army is they push back really hard on momentum and try to gain it. They don't start off with momentum. They kind of stop the opponent and go, now we've got more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, let's move on to Long Riders. What we got next?
Next we have
Those are solos.
Northkin Fire Eaters.
All right.
I have something special to say.
Go
here.
for it, because these guys are so wonky I have no goddamn clue.
So
There's a goddamn book behind you.
No, I know what they do. I just don't know how they work.
So,
God damn it.
interesting story. I'm going to use these guys in a bunch of Borka armies because just the theme of drinking booze and spitting it makes me happy.
That reminds me. Hey, Andy, got any matches?
No.
Lighter?
No.
Well,
Torch?
you can ignite the night.
What kind
No.
of stove you got?
No. I have a no stove.
No stove.
Yeah, no, I'm no. Catbug says no.
Catbug won't disagree very hard when Catbug's on fire.
No.
Yeah,
Catbug-
Taking his binky.
Tell us what you're thinking about the Northkin Fire Eaters.
Okay, so first, before I talk about the fire breathers, because I think they're fire eaters, because I think they're really cool, is once upon a time in the early days of like sideshows, they had fire breathers.
Yep.
And the thing is we were talking about turpentine. They weren't really fire breathers. They were really regurgitists, and that's how they would do the fire breathing. Is they would drink turpentine before the show and then vomit it and spit it out, and they'd be fire breathers. But they didn't live very long. So
Well,
Drinking
turpentine
that
shortens
seems to
your
be pretty
lifespan?
horrible.
yeah, so it's a little bit of an aside on breathing fire and
So
stuff.
what you're saying is the fire breathers don't have a very long lifespan.
No, I don't think they do in general. Just because one of the things that really cuts down their lifespan in the game, at least, is that you're going to want them on fire in order to get these boosted attacks.
Yeah.
But you could spike your dice and really kill these guys.
Even with the bonus against fire for them, it's still, if you spike, you're gonna kill them.
It's dangerous, and that's
Well,
where
the way the math breaks down is these guys are armor 13. They got +5 armor against fire damage rolls specifically. So if you hit them with a power 12, a roll of I think it's a roll of an 11 or a 12 will still kill a fully healed fire eater.
Yep, and I think that's where maybe the AoEs from the Pyre Troll are going to be good at that. But I almost wonder
There is a small lining on that cloud though. By virtue of them being on fire and that killing them, if they make their tough check, they're not knocked down.
Yeah. I think these guys are going to be interesting when we start seeing more of them on the board. I know, like, it's always rough when models haven't been released yet. Nobody's really proxying them to try them out unless they really are digging them.
Yeah.
But
Well, these guys are so weird. I just want to recap what they actually do.
Yeah. I'm
So
sorry.
no worries. Like I believe these guys are in this. I actually have to check the book on this one.
War room, but the book is. Damn it.
Never
yeah.
mind. Give me my phone
No,
back.
so these
I
guys
want to
are-
make Andy feel
Yeah.
good.
These guys are speed 6 and they're mat 6 and they're rat 6.
This is your moment, Andy.
Yeah.
Get the damn book.
Yeah.
I spent $40 for this book.
Better be worth it. Somebody's got to open it.
Things are heavy.
Yeah, so they're speed 6, mat 6, rat 6, defense 13, armor 13. So, and they've got 5 health. So they're actually kind of squishy. They've got a multitude of special rules on them. They're advanced deploy. They're tough. They might be fearless.
They are fearless.
Yeah.
They do have advanced deploy, immune to
yeah, they're
stationary.
They're immune to cold.
Yep, cold.
Look at that! I'd open up right to it.
Oh, snap. All right, so yeah, they're immune to cold. And then they've got assault, which everyone knows what assault really does. So with a 6-inch spray, power 12, with fire damage, grants the continuous effect. So on their own, they can still charge, put out a 6-inch spray, which will be at rat 6 and hit with power 12, which isn't terrible. And then the part that makes them weird, well, it's 2 parts that make them weird, is this rule called Fire's Fury. That armor 13 is effectively an armor 18 versus fire damage rolls, and while they are on fire, they cannot be knocked down, cannot be made stationary, and gain boosted attack and damage rolls. So a rat 6 spray with a power 12 is good. A boosted rat 6 with a boosted power 12 is bloody phenomenal. Here's the catch. They're not immune to fire, so they still burn to death.
I don't think they could have actually added immunity of fire for them.
Oh no, I understand how the rules work.
Yeah.
It's just the low armor is the part that throws me off. Because if their armor was 15, I'd be a lot more comfortable hitting them with fire attacks because you could not really burn them to death easily.
Correct.
So the big thing as far as the online community is going is everyone's looking for ways of lighting the squad on fire, and to be honest, I'm not certain that that's the best approach.
That was my second part of that, is that I don't feel that trying to risk your assault unit like that, or unit with assault, is really worth the time and effort, because they just seem like they're good in their own right. Being lit on fire, I think is a trap for the unit.
I think it's one of those things where it is a trump card you can pull out, but is otherwise irrelevant. Like a good example is just weigh up your opponent. If I take these guys against, say, like Bane Thralls, which are a known problem, I don't want to try to light them on fire. I would rather just take the rat 6 sprays, which are hitting on 6s and killing on 4s, into the squad. Boosting, yes, it makes my odds better, but by a considerable margin?
Yeah, it's not gonna. It might get you. It gets you a little closer, but on those troublesome units, they're so low armor and so low defense that it's not going to bother you.
The spot where you're going to want to ignite these guys, I think, is against the other large obstacles. You're talking about like the Crixian Raiders, who have that force barrier, makes them defense 16. If you're not on fire, you're probably not going to hit them. Kazi. Or if your opponent is generous enough to let you line up a shot on their caster. Those are the spots where you really want to ignite these guys. And a lot of people are trying a handful of weird little gimmicks where they have the 2 Trollkin warriors up front, and then they've got the pig and back to try with them
triangle
sprays.
Formation.
I think it's actually better to have the pig up front for one of the 2. Because if you're going up against something that's a medium-sized base, you don't have to try so hard to get the line of sight.
Exactly.
The guy in the back can see over the pig and get the shot that you need to have happen for that charge in the spray. That said, the best way of igniting these guys, best in quotation marks, is probably still a Pyre Troll. The Power 6 blast damage rolls will not hurt them, unless you're boosting, and if you're boosting, then you've got other problems. So the best ways of doing that are with the Pyre Troll, so you can either have the Pyre Troll kind of take a point-blank shot at one of them and hope to miss. Other ones is you take him with something that's immune to fire, or you have the Pyre Troll make something immune to fire and shoot that instead. Real common ones being like a whelp or something. Or in the case where if the pig wasn't up in the front, you can make the pig immune to fire and hit him.
Yeah.
I think the net goal is probably still missing because you still don't want to hit anybody, and the blasts are a good move. But these guys are going to need some real table time before we can tell what they do. But at 4 points for the trio of them, I think that even without the gimmick, they've got some offensive power that can really scare the opponent.
Yeah, I when I first saw these guys, I was very excited just because they seemed like they were a little out of left field. They made me think of like Sons of Brag a little bit, where it's like it's a very, very interesting unit that I don't think we've really seen before.
Yeah, so it's these guys are very, very strange, and I would stress not to get too hung up over trying to light them on fire. It is a boon. There are certain circumstances where lighting one of them on fire will probably be helpful, but trying too hard to get the whole unit ablaze will probably just make you more upset than happy. On the plus side, they can really irritate the hell out of Menoth players.
Plus, they look amazing.
They do.
Yeah.
Brian Douglas is a ridiculously awesome sculptor. Like
And
everything.
whoever painted those studio figures is phenomenal too.
I think that was Matt. I think that was Matt DiPietro. Otherwise, or Jordy. Either one have been making ridiculous painting models. But yeah, man, the Brian Douglas sculpts through Privateer have been just amazing. I don't know if do you know what he's sculpted over there?
I've heard the name, but I can't match it with some of the sculpts. I really
Basically,
need to get
every single new troll that's come out is
Yeah.
him.
I really need to get more in tune with the different sculptors that work with Privateer Press, because I really